Hey everybody, welcome back to Phoenix Fab. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So today I'm going to be doing the brakes on the S3, and I absolutely love this car. I bought it about a year ago and it's just been my favorite car, and I can't really tell you why. But I'm gonna go bigger and better on the brake system than I have for my typical daily driver. Usually I just run OE setup. I'm not racing these cars, but I love this car, and I figured she deserves better. So I'm gonna go over how to put the brakes in today, and maybe we'll do some more mods to this car in the future. Let me know if you'd like to see me do anything else to this car. I'm open to it, obviously. So let's jump in. Today, I'm gonna work on one wheel at a time. So I'm gonna get the lug nut caps off, get the lug nuts off, get the car in the air, and I'll come get you. Get the car up in the air, get the wheel off, and then the first thing you're gonna wanna remove is gonna be your caliper. The way you get the caliper off is you have a bolt up here and you have a bolt up down here, and they are a 13 millimeter on the outside, and you're gonna need a 17 millimeter wrench for the inside nut to just hold it so it doesn't spin as you're loosening it. At this point, you should be able to just pry this right out, and then you'll want to zip tie it out of the way so that you're not banging it all around on everything else underneath here. The next step is going to be compressing the piston that's in the caliper back into the caliper. And I found it's always easier to go to your master cylinder where the reservoir for the brake fluid is and remove that cap so that fluid can be pushed back into the reservoir easier. That cap on the S3 is right here. So just twist it off and set it somewhere safe. My pads have clearly seen better days. All I have left is maybe I'd say 3-4 millimeters of pad left on both sides. At least they did wear even. Let's peel them off and see what the surface of the pad looks like. The passenger side of the car is the only side that has a sensor for brake wear, and I found it easiest to pry the clip up on the inside of the sensor and pry it off this way instead of going off the back side like you typically would. Looking at the old pads, they weren't bad, no cracks, doesn't look like they overheated, so they were just end of life. Since we're doing the rotor also and replacing that, you're gonna have to take off this 22 millimeter and this 22 millimeter to take this bracket that holds your caliper off, and then you'll be able to slide your rotor off. The last thing you're gonna wanna remove is gonna be this TP27. It's just there to hold this rotor on so that when you're working, it doesn't fall off. It's really simple. All right, my rotor is rusted on basically, so I'm gonna get a little mallet and give it some taps. It should fall right off. All right. So I had to beat on mine a little bit to get it off. It really just did not want to come off, and I want to say that PB Blaster did the trick in the end. I just sprayed a little in around the holes of the hub and around the side and the center, and I hit it with the mallet, and it finally did come off. So let's get the new stuff. Oh, it's gonna look so good. All right, so we have the new one, and you're gonna want to line up the retaining hole with the retainer screw hole in the hub, and that's pretty simple. You just go ahead, slide it on there, line it up, and then take the screw and thread it. Once that's threaded, you don't have to worry about your rotor going anywhere, and you can work on everything else. So, let me grab the pads, we'll condense the brakes, and we'll put it all back together. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the original pad and put it back in its original spot against the piston on the inside of the caliper. On the outside here is the face of the caliper that you see through the wheel. Then you take your compressor tool and put it on the wrong way. In a way, this should be on the inside, but I have it flipped around because of the cap or the cover that they put on these calipers. It makes it so that you can't put it on the way you typically would. But at this point, I can screw this tight, push the piston back in, and start to install the new stuff. Next, slide your caliper bracket back into place and tighten it down with the 2 bolts that you removed earlier. With your caliper bracket on, you're going to want to now put some grease down here, up here, and in the inside channels so that you don't get squeaks when you come to a stop. For the passenger side, make sure to grab the brake pad that has the sensor in it. Next, take the brake pad sensor and make sure to plug it right back in where it was, and you're ready to slide the caliper back on. For the caliper bolts, make sure to use a little blue Loctite on these so that they stay in place and you don't have to worry about them backing out and your caliper falling out. Last thing you're going to want to do is take some brake cleaner and just clean the rotor off. It's sent with a bunch of oils so that it's not going to rust in shipping. And after you're done with this, you're ready to move on to the other side. Once both calipers are done and the pads are back in, it's time to put the cap back on the master cylinder reservoir, and we are ready to move on to putting the wheels on. Hey everybody, so it's been a few days since I installed the pads and rotors, and I'm loving them. So with these pads, EBC tells you that they recommend for the first 200 miles that you do extremely light driving and to avoid emergency braking unless absolutely necessary. So that's what I've done. It's been 200 miles, and the next step to getting these pads final and installed is bedding them. And for EBC, you want to pick a brand new rotor and a rotor that can handle the heat that these pads are going to be able to handle, so that you're not, bottlenecking yourself by, going cheap on one route, but going really high end with the pads. So get rotors to nicely pair with them. Right now, we're gonna head out to an empty parking lot that I think is gonna be pretty good for doing this test. And to bed these brakes, what you wanna do is you wanna accelerate to about 60 miles an hour 5 times in a row, and then come to a 10-mile-an-hour roll very abruptly without coming to a stop, as being stopped will not do anything for the cooling. So you want to cool these brakes and heat them up and cool them and heat them up, and that'll get you a really good mating surface. So we're gonna head out to this parking lot and see how these things stop. In the tests, I never experienced any brake fade and came to a stop extremely quick. I would recommend this for any casual track car. If this video helped you in any way, please like and subscribe, and I hope you're having a great day. I'll see you next time.